Hello and welcome to World of Zwift. I'm OJ Borge, host of today's show, and what an all-star cast we have lined up for you. So without further ado, let's see what we've got in store. Nathan Guerra previews the latest Zwift Classics route. Shayne Gaffney, well, he's back with another workout of the week. Dave Towle continues his quest to meet some of the biggest characters from the Zwiftiverse. I try out yet another delicious ride fuel in the feed zone. And you can brush up on your A to Zwift. But first, if you could like the video, maybe subscribe to the channel, and we always love your comments as well below. That would be ace. And while you do that, I'm going to catch up on last week's World of Zwift.
You want to dice things up, use that esports stage section to try and break it apart.
Okay.
You will feel legendary after completing this workout.
Good point.
That's the last time you pull this stunt.
Fascinating stuff, Davey T. And he's never going to eat that, is he? Ah! He ate it. The pig. Anyway, we better make this show as good as the last one. Pressure. There is plenty for you to be getting involved with on Zwift this week, so let's start off with the latest Off the Map series, starting on Tuesday the 3rd of August. You can ride some of Zwift's lesser travelled roads whilst wearing exclusive in-game gear. You can also then buy in real life after completion. There'll be 4 stages which finish on August the 21st. I shall be doing it, Matt Stevens is doing it, Hannah Walker is doing it, plus a load of other familiar faces, so maybe we'll see you there. Hope we will. After 5 weeks of training, rides and runs, the Norseman Festival of Climbing, well, it's finally upon us. If you didn't join in the training, you can still enter, although be prepared as there will be 5 races on Zwift's most iconic climbs. If you complete any of the first 4 routes, you get to unlock the White Norseman shirt, but to obtain the coveted black finisher kit, you need to complete the custom 7 Horseman route that measures 123 kilometers and features 2,783 meters of elevation, and then you still need to run a half marathon the following day. Chapeau to anyone who finishes both of those. This week also sees the start of the PTO Collins Cup series. You can represent Team US, Team Europe or Team International during 4 weeks of community rides and runs, leading up to the inaugural IRL PTO Collins Cup on August the 28th. Not only has Tim Searle ridden over 200,000 kilometers on Zwift, he's now laying down a challenge to all you budding photographers. Can you take 2 more similar in-game and real-life photos than these? Bonus points if your IRL version is through the heart of a volcano. And finally, a couple of shout-outs. Firstly, happy 60th birthday to Jack Collier, who will be no doubt burning off that cake on Zwift. And a message to possibly EZ Ling Ling. I'm going with EZ Ling Ling. You can now tell your kids that this week's World of Zwift is out. Feel free to let us know how you watch the show in the comments section, and you can also find more details on any of the events mentioned in the links below. If you are looking to slake your racing thirst during the 0L break, well, I strongly advise you get involved in the Zwift Classics series. What is this week's route? I hear you screaming into the ether. Well, who better to tell you than Zwift racing aficionado, Nathan Guerra.
Welcome to Zwift Race Knowledge with me, Nathan Guerra. This week we're taking a look at the Zwift Classics race number 4, the Richmond Challenge. We'll be out on the UCI Worlds course from 2015, except this week we're doing it in reverse. From the start gate, be attentive. The usual fast Zwift starts can end up with you off the back right from the get-go because Governor Street Reverse is a very fast descent. If you are not paying attention, get into that super tuck and find yourself mid-pack or further forward, you can find yourself in trouble and off the back immediately. Attention right from the get-go. Taking speed out of the gates and immediately into Governor Street as a pack usually starts very fast in Zwift racing, you need to be attentive. Broad Street comes at you immediately within the first 2 to 3 minutes. Be ready for it, and it will be the first obstacle with a 12% gradient that it maxes out at. It's going to be about a minute or so, maybe a little less climb. Full gas, lots of orange numbers. On the opposite side, you will descend 23rd Street, down some cobbles, left-hand turn, and then an immediate another left-hand turn into 25th/Franklin Street, which has a little serpentine in it. And on the back side of that climb is when it really kicks up into about a 17% or so. Then you'll descend a winding Libby Hill down the cobbles, enter into the river/industrial park, and then you'll have a long, steady slog up East Main Street. That's the steadiest of all the climbs. with the 3 climbs up front and then the flatter sections on the back end of the course, it does tend to end up in a high-speed, very tactical sprint in the end. But that doesn't mean you can't smash your competition on those climbs. Really, taking the race to the rest of the pack is what it's going to be all about. Making sure that nobody is making it to that sprint that wants to challenge you is definitely a tactic you want to use. And you want to use a little bit of insider knowledge about how to break things apart as best as you possibly can. Down the other side of 23rd Street and that initial climb going into the 25th and Franklin climb, that climb is very, very important for breaking things apart. If we take a look at what Megan Rathwell from Stars to Pros Closet did in Season 2's race number 1 on this course, she broke things apart and made people chase in a way that completely annihilated the front pack. We also look at Chris Uberti and Zach Mears' attacks in similar races. You have a very similar situation where they carried speed, didn't waste a whole lot of speed actually on the descent or the flat section after 23rd Street, and then punched through that second half of the climb, completely annihilating anybody who was trying to chase back on after the climb up Broad Street. Take that insider knowledge, blow things apart, take out your competition early on so that when they do try to get back or cannot get back, you've whittled it down to a much tighter peloton for that final sprint. Another tactic you can employ to try and get away in this course and not have a final sprint in the pack is to try and sneak away after the East Main Street climb and the reverse Broad Street sprint. Having those two in exact succession of each other can put the pack into a lot of distress. If you can follow wheels, reserve as much energy as you can into that reverse Broad Street sprint and then counter the sprint with some very high speeds after following wheels well and maybe even employ an aero power up to get away, you may be able to get a couple people to go with you or even solo it to the finish line on the final lap. Now, our iconic moment in Zwift racing history on this course comes from none other than the whiteboard professor, the creator of the Fashion Police, Anna Russell, at least the mastermind of it. But the winner on the day was Claire Cameron. It was Stars to Pros Closet that set up one of the best play-by-play sprints I've ever seen in Zwift racing history. It was Zwift Racing League Season 2, race number 1 on this Richmond UCI Reverse Worlds. It was coming down to the final 500 meters out on the course, and Anna Russell jumps with about 500 meters to go and gets a little bit of a gap with some orange numbers. That gap is absolutely key. Because of that, nobody is able to draft on her wheel, and she is able to force Finesse Rockets to make a chase. It was Tara Cole-Fetter alongside of her teammate Catherine Monks who had to make the chase in order to bring that back, or Anna Russell, who does not have a very good kick, is just going to win the race outright. From here, the teammates Megan Rathwell and Claire Cameron are able to ride the wheels of an essential lead out from another team because of the attack of Anna Russell. That team had to close things down, and Stars to Pros Closet got an awesome lead out. The counter with 2 feather power-ups comes from Claire Cameron and Megan Rathwell, and Cameron holds on to the line with Tara Cole-Fetter taking second place. What's very interesting about this sprint is that Claire Cameron actually has about 2 watts per kilogram less than the competition from the Finesse Rockets. But because of the effort that had to be thrown down to chase down Anna Russell, Claire Cameron was able to walk away with this one. And that's our Zwift racing knowledge for race number 4 in the Zwift Classics, the Richmond Challenge. If you want to check out the live broadcast for this race as well as the rest of the classics, you can head on over to Zwift Community Live's YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook channels to find myself, Dave Towle, Kate Bates, and Anna Russell taking you through a ton of racing action. Good luck, and we'll see you out there.
If there's one man that loves Zwift racing as much as Nathan G, it is Dave Towle, the ZRL commentator. Well, he's been on his travels to meet some of the wonderful characters that make up the Zwift community. So let's see who he caught up with this week.
Today, we're taking a short trip over Lake Washington, heading to Bellevue to meet one of the biggest up-and-coming stars in the esports world, Nadia Gontova. She's a rower at the University of British Columbia, but recently made waves in Season 3 of the ZRL, winning every points race she entered, including her debut.
Is that going to be Gontova? And it is. This rider has got superstar written all over her. This might be a breakthrough rider. The Canadian Nadia Gontova, a real powerhouse. This is something special, folks.
Nadia Gontova, she will write her name in WTRL history with that performance.
Believe me, she's a rider to watch for the future.
You were the standout rider of Season 3 in ZRL. Racing in the West Coast, you won every race I saw you do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the very first race, I wasn't really sure what it would come down to. At the end, it was a 5-minute climb, and I knew I was pretty well suited for like a punchy climb. So I definitely was hoping I could win it. I was talking to my teammates. I don't know if I can do it. There's still a big group. I'm a bit tired, like how fresh is everyone else?
The young Canadian has stood and delivered here today in New York City. So the New York City KOM after party is all about Team Audi.
I knew I could win it, but I wasn't sure if I'd be able to get the strategy, because also everyone's working as teams. It's hard.
Big win for Nadia here today.
Wow, what a ride from the youngster. This is really, I think, a coming of age for her. She is so young, so talented, and what a ride to beat Hayley Gill across the line.
Doesn't matter who you are, you can be a cycling star from your living room, if you work hard. Yeah. Especially the live streams are so awesome that, I'm doing the race, and then after hearing that the commentary and that everyone's working together as teams, it's pretty cool that you can feel like you're really in the action without having to take such a big time commitment.
She is taking the bull by the horns here.
She's got Premier League written all over her, and this is the tip of the iceberg, Kate.
We coined the phrase the Gontova situation during ZRL Season 3.
And it looks like we've got Gontova situation going on here.
Wouldn't that be funny for Nadia if that became our term for a dangerous breakaway? A Gontova situation?
A Gontova situation. I'm going to write that down.
The Gontova situation continues. The Gontova situation is a reality.
Oh my goodness, would you believe it, Dave Towle? Nadia Gontova, 41 seconds. She's done it again. Another Gontova situation.
Oh boy.
Did you chuckle when you heard about the Gontova situation?
Yeah. My parents told me about it, and then I watched the live stream after. I think after a race I got a text that was haha, Gontova situation, and I was what? What's my mom coming up with? And I watched the live stream, and it's you guys are using this term, and then it goes to the men's, and you guys are still using the term. And I was that's kind of crazy.
Do you love rowing? Is it a passion for you?
Yeah, it depends on what it is. I think rowing crew boats is so awesome because there's no better feeling than being with 8 super dedicated girls in a boat and everyone's working hard and everyone that everyone is pulling their hardest, and it gives you that extra 10% in a race because I know all of my teammates are hurting just as bad, if not more. So it's a super awesome feeling.
Nadia, would people be surprised how technical rowing is? It's not something you can just jump in a boat and do, is it?
Yeah, it's super different from cycling because you pedal harder, pedal faster, and you go faster. But it's all about the race strategy. But rowing is different because the race strategy is you just go as fast as you can for however long the race is. But there's so much technique where sometimes, pulling harder doesn't always mean going faster.
To everybody who's been joining us, thanks a lot for coming along, and we'll see you down the road.
Now, I don't know about you, but I have been absolutely engrossed by the Olympics and the amazing athletic feats going on in Tokyo at the moment. So for this week's Feed Zone, the World of Zwift team have treated me to a Japanese staple. Ah yes, the humble sushi roll, which has long been a favourite of the pro peloton as a carb base on which your favourite protein can be added with barely an ounce of fat inside. Now, with it being the feed zone, it's never going to be that simple, is it? And the topping of choice, not mine, is natto. To you and me, that's fermented soybeans. So, let's get this bad boy open. Whoa! Oh, wow. Okay, I'll tell you what that smells like. If you've ever been to a nightclub in the day after a night out, you know when you get that, oh, that really sharp smell, that's what that's like. So I've got a bit of the natto here. Let's put it on top of one of these sushi rolls. Good old helping of it. This is the feed zone. We don't do things by half. So my mouth is watering, but it always does. Sometimes it waters because I'm ready to eat delicious food. Sometimes it waters because I feel like I'm about to vom. Okay. Deep breath, OJ. Deep breath. Wow. Now that, it's not a terrible taste, but that's one of the strongest tastes I've ever had. There's a kick of chili, and it's really strong. Like, you know, sometimes when you put too much Marmite on your toast, or you have something straight out of a packet that's supposed to be diluted, it tastes like it should be watered down. But do you know what? It is not disgusting, so I'm just going to load up another one. Well, I tell you that apparently it is super nutritious, and the probiotics created during the fermentation process will bolster your immune system. So, as this is the feed zone, I always like to try things twice. There it goes. I'm not saying it's natto for the win, but it's not natto for the vomit. Hurrah for all. Mainly me. Don't go anywhere, as we still have the latest workout of the week with Shayne Gaffney on the way. Prepare thy legs.
L is for leg snapper. Innsbruck, home of the 2018 UCI World Championships. Beautiful chocolate box buildings, a brilliant KOM and one of the hardest little inclines in all of Zwift. Witness the leg snapper. At only 450 meters long and a grade of 7%, you might think, no big deal. That's not much of a challenge. And while it's not on top or out to Zwift, your legs are gonna know about it, trust me. The clue's in the name. If you're racing or doing fast bunch laps on the Innsbruck ring course, there's every chance that you're gonna wanna attack it. Whether you come at it fast and try to hold on, or spin it in easy and try to save something for the top. There's one thing for sure, your heart rate is going to be near to max. And no matter how many times you climb it, in the immortal words of the great American Greg LeMond, it never gets easier, you just get faster. So, if you like type 2 fun or have a healthy relationship with pain, then the leg snapper is there for you anytime that Innsbruck is on rotation in the game.
If you thought Zwift was just about racing, then think again. There are a whole host of training plans you can follow. Now, I don't have favourites, but if I did, it would be the Workout of the Week series with the one and only Shayne Gaffney.
This week's Workout of the Week is called Miracle. You've only got 20 minutes, but you still want a solid workout. It's going to take a miracle. Good thing we can put the beat down on with some fatigued 1-minute all-out efforts. That's right, give it everything you've got for a full minute, then do it again. You get the idea. Hopefully that saved your session.
And that is it for another episode of the World of Zwift. We'll be back, same place next week at whatever time you want. And until then, why don't you let us know what you've loved about Zwift in the past 7 days. Until then, ride on.